You have been cutting calories. You have been going to bed at a reasonable hour. You wake up every morning, look down, and the belly is still there, not smaller, exactly where it was. And what nobody is telling you is that the hours between 10 at night and 6 in the morning are either the most powerful fat-burning window your body has or a complete metabolic dead zone, which when it becomes has almost nothing to do with what you ate that day. It has everything to do with what happens in the last 90 minutes before you close your eyes. Most people think fat loss happens at the gym. It does not. The gym creates a signal. The actual work, the cellular repair, the hormonal mobilization, all of that happens at night while you sleep. And your body runs this process the same way a night shift cleaning crew runs a factory. They come in after the machines stop, after the floor goes quiet, after the lights go down. They cannot do their job if the production line is still running. The moment you understand that your body's overnight fat-burning system operates on the exact same logic, everything you thought you knew about losing belly fat starts to look entirely different. Here's what the cleaning crew is actually waiting for, and here's why most people are accidentally locking the factory doors shut just before the crew arrives. The key player here is growth hormone, or HGH. Most people associate HGH with bodybuilders and anti-aging clinics. That is a distraction. In your body, HGH is the primary overnight signal that tells your fat cells to release stored energy, repair damaged tissue, and pull fuel from your reserves rather than your diet. It is the foreman of the night shift crew. Without it, the crew sits in the parking lot, the machines stay dirty, and the fat that accumulated across the day stays exactly where it landed. Your body releases the largest pulse of HGH within the first phase of slow-wave sleep, the deepest and most restorative stage of the sleep cycle. A landmark review published in the Journal of Pediatrics analyzing nocturnal HGH secretion across age groups confirmed that up to 70% of daily HGH output occurs during this first slow-wave sleep episode. Not at the gym, not during your morning workout. That one window, in the dark, while you're unconscious, that is where the real fat-burning architecture lives. And what most people never realize is that this window is extraordinarily sensitive to the hormonal environment you have built in the hours before it opens. Now here's where insulin enters the picture, and this is the mechanism most people completely miss. Insulin and HGH are biochemical opposites. A review published in Frontiers in Endocrinology confirmed that hyperinsulinemia, the state of elevated circulating insulin that follows any caloric meal, directly suppresses pituitary HGH release. When insulin is circulating in your bloodstream, your pituitary gland is essentially locked out. The factory doors close, the cleaning crew cannot get in. And insulin stays elevated in your blood for 2 to 5 hours after a meal, depending on its size and composition. A late dinner is not just a late dinner, it's a biochemical lock placed on the most important hormonal signal your body uses to mobilize fat while you sleep. Now here's where the research on meal timing becomes genuinely hard to ignore. Dr. Sachin Panda's laboratory at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies published a study in Cell Metabolism in 2019 following patients with metabolic syndrome on a 10-hour time-restricted eating protocol. Participants who stopped eating earlier in the evening lost abdominal fat, reduced fasting insulin, and improved cholesterol without changing what they ate or counting calories. They only changed the timing window. The researchers concluded that restricting the eating window to align with circadian biology improved metabolic health through mechanisms that are independent of caloric intake alone. Your body cannot burn stored fat and manage an active blood sugar spike at the same time. Those are two different operating modes, and the biology can only run one at a time. Every hour of elevated insulin after your last meal is another hour the cleaning crew spends waiting in the parking lot. But here's what the meal timing conversation always leaves out, and it's the reason why stopping eating at 7 still doesn't fix the problem for most people. The cleaning crew doesn't just need the machines off, they need the lights off too. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and it operates in direct opposition to HGH by a closely related mechanism. Elevated cortisol at bedtime suppresses the overnight HGH pulse, blocks fat cell mobilization, and actively signals your body to defend visceral fat in reserve, because from your body's evolutionary perspective, a threatened animal doesn't burn its emergency fuel. A threatened organism hoards energy. That ancient survival logic is still running inside you every night. What makes this harder is that elevated cortisol at bedtime does not feel like stress in the traditional sense. It feels like a racing mind. It feels like being awake when your body should be winding down. It feels like needing to check your phone one more time. A study published in Sleep Medicine Reviews documented that exposure to short-wavelength blue light from screens in the evening suppresses melatonin, disrupts cortisol's natural decline, and keeps the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis in a state of alertness at exactly the moment your body needs it quiet. The stress response is not always coming from your day. It is being triggered in real time, at the threshold of the window that matters most. Here is what that means in practice. You can stop eating at 6 in the evening. You can have your insulin completely cleared by the time you get into bed. But if you are lying there at 10:30 scrolling your phone, replaying a difficult conversation, or building tomorrow's task list in your head, your cortisol is still elevated. The factory machines are off, but someone left all the lights burning and the alarm system armed. The cleaning crew is still in the parking lot, and your belly fat is still locked inside. Visceral fat is not a cosmetic problem, and I need you to understand what this tissue is actually doing inside your body right now. Visceral fat is not passive storage. It is metabolically active tissue. A scientific statement from the American Heart Association, published in Arteriosclerosis, Thrombosis, and Vascular Biology, confirmed that visceral fat continuously releases inflammatory cytokines directly into your portal circulation, the blood supply that flows straight from your gut to your liver. Your liver is responsible for regulating your cholesterol, your blood glucose, and much of your hormonal balance. When visceral fat is chronically inflamed, it is not just weight around your midsection. It is a slow, continuous chemical assault on the organ that governs nearly every other metabolic system you depend on. Here is what that means for your daily life. Visceral fat drives insulin resistance, and insulin resistance makes every subsequent night's HGH pulse weaker and shorter. The fatter the factory gets, the harder it becomes for the cleaning crew to operate. The cycle feeds itself. Every year inside that loop compounds the damage. There is an irreversible dimension here I do not soften in practice. The same AHA statement confirmed that NAFLD, the direct liver consequence of chronic visceral fat inflammation, is typically silent until advanced and potentially irreversible liver impairment has already occurred. That is the word the American Heart Association used, irreversible. The window to intervene before the damage becomes structural is not permanently open, and most people do not know the clock has already started running. Here is exactly what I tell my patients. Start with what to stop. Stop eating within 3 hours of your target bedtime, not 2 hours, 3. That is the minimum window required to meaningfully lower circulating insulin and restore the hormonal conditions your body needs for a full overnight HGH pulse. If you go to bed at 11, dinner ends at 8, not a snack at 9:30, not something small, nothing with caloric content after that window closes. Your body cannot distinguish between a full meal and a handful of crackers when it comes to triggering insulin secretion. Both lock the factory doors. Stop using your phone or any backlit screen in the 60 minutes before sleep. Evening blue light suppresses melatonin and disrupts cortisol's natural decline, as confirmed by a systematic review in Sleep Medicine Reviews. Removing the screen does not just help you fall asleep faster, it directly restores the hormonal conditions that make fat burning during sleep physiologically possible. Now, here is what to start. Lower your room temperature to between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit before bed. A study published in the journal Diabetes in 2014, led by researchers at the National Institutes of Health, followed 5 healthy men sleeping for 1 month in a room cooled to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. After that month, the researchers found the volume of metabolically active brown fat in the participants had doubled, along with significant improvements in insulin sensitivity. Brown fat burns energy rather than storing it. 1 month of cooler sleep doubled its activity. Consider 3 grams of glycine before bed. Glycine is an amino acid found naturally in bone broth and collagen. Yamadera and colleagues, publishing in Sleep and Biological Rhythms in 2007, found that 3 grams of glycine taken before bedtime shortened the time participants spent reaching slow-wave sleep and improved both sleep quality and next-day cognitive performance in a controlled trial. If you're pregnant, diabetic, or managing blood sugar with medication, speak with your doctor before altering meal timing or adding supplements. These changes carry genuine physiological effects. That is precisely the point. You were not failing at fat loss. You were running the factory at full capacity all the way up to the moment you expected the cleaning crew to arrive, and then wondering why nothing was getting cleaned. Now you know the sequence. Machines off, lights off, crew in. The biology was working correctly the entire time. The conditions were not. Every night from here is either a locked door or an open one. And now you're the one holding the key. The crew has been waiting a long time. Let them in.